Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. So the other day when I was going through my videos, I realized that I have some videos missing off of my channel, and the only thing I can think of is maybe I uploaded those videos to a different account, but either way I can no longer find them. And it occurred to me that my story only goes 10 months back, when I know I've been doing YouTube for at least a year. So while looking at these videos, I realized there's not really an introduction video on me, and I do have a video for some of my story, like my background. So I just figured, why not just go through it all again, make another video for those of you who maybe haven't gone that far back in my videos, and introduce you to me and tell you about my story. So, diving right in. First off, I just turned 27 at the beginning of this month. I've been on this journey for 10 years, and it's been crazy. So, starting back all the way to 10 years ago, in October of 2009, I was 16, and I found out I was pregnant mid-October, which, I mean, it was shocking, but it wasn't, because I was not preventing it, but I was also too young to really fully understand what the consequences were. Like, I thought, yeah, cool, having a baby is fun. Well, little did I know. So, I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant in October. By November 8th, I had lost the baby. I was a little over 7 weeks. So I really wasn't too far along, but I was almost 8 weeks pregnant. I lost that one naturally, passed on its own. Probably one of the most excruciating miscarriages I've had. It was horrible. The pain was unbearable. The bleeding was really bad. It wasn't a good experience. So I had just turned 17 6 days prior to this miscarriage. So after that, nothing really happened, because I was 17 at the time. I did not get pregnant again until 2012. Did I get pregnant? I think I found out July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. I got pregnant, found out I was pregnant in June of 2012. I couldn't remember which month I found out I was pregnant. So I found out I was pregnant at the end of June, and unfortunately, again, my HCG was perfect with this pregnancy, with the second pregnancy. Like, it was going up, it was doubling, it looked great, but I had that gut feeling, that something wasn't right. They weren't wanting to give me an ultrasound until I was like 20 weeks. And having already experienced one miscarriage before, I was not going to have that. I was not waiting that long. They were going to do the heart rate at 11 weeks with the Doppler. But I wasn't comfortable with that. So I begged and begged for an ultrasound early. And so finally at 9 weeks, I went in for my first ultrasound, and we found that I was measuring around 6 weeks, and that right now there was no heartbeat. They thought maybe I had my dates wrong. I knew I didn't, because how can you be off by 3 weeks? You know what I mean? So the next week, we went back at 10 weeks, and again, there was no heartbeat. There was nothing. There was just a sac. So at this point, I was not going to be miscarrying on my own. I showed no signs of it. I had no cramping. I had no bleeding. I had nothing. Like, my stomach was getting bigger. The symptoms were still there. Like, it was a very hard loss to take in. So they gave me the option to go home, wait it out, miscarry on my own, or they could go in and do a D&C. So we elected for the D&C. We wanted to just get it over with, get it done, because I had already miscarried naturally once, and it's not something I wanted to do again, especially being I think I was almost 11 weeks when I went back, so it wasn't exactly 10 weeks. So by the time I had the D&C, I was close to 12 weeks. It took about a week or so to get all this pushed through and scheduled. So I was almost out of my second trimester by the time this D&C happened. So I had the D&C July 20th, 2012. And then, you know, my husband at the time, he was gone for military training for a couple weeks. And then when he came back, you know, stuff happened. And then by September of 2012, I found out I was pregnant again. When I called my doctors, they're like, there's no way you're pregnant. Like, that's probably leftover HCG. She's like, are you sure that it's positive? I said, I've taken 5 tests. It's positive. And by this point, it had already been 2 months. So I really wasn't thinking that there is supposed to be HCG left in my system. Which I guess now that I'm older, I've learned that it is a common thing for HCG to be in your system for a while after miscarriage. That's never been my case. So I went in for my blood draws, and it was new HCG. My numbers were high. They looked good. I think I went in 2 or 3 times while I waited to be like 6.5 weeks or something, because I found out I was like 4 weeks probably. So my HCG was doubling like it should. It was great. So I go in for my 6.5 week ultrasound, and we see a sac and a fetal pole. Now, this is something I've never seen before. So I was still kind of cautious. I was like, well, I want to get my hopes up, because, I was like 5.5, 6 weeks. I didn't want to get my hopes up because I had already been let down twice before. So less than a week later, we go back. I was close to 7 weeks, I want to say. We went back for another ultrasound, and there was the heartbeat. It was the most perfect little heartbeat. It was like 120, 121, something like that. Perfectly normal for the gestation that the baby was. Again, I was a little bit more hopeful, but I was still really scared because it's my first trimester. Like, both pregnancies before ended in first trimester losses. So I went back for another one a couple weeks later, and the heartbeat was in the 170. So this baby was growing and healthy and most likely going to make it. So that was the pregnancy with my daughter, who is now 6.5. I had a fairly easy pregnancy with her. No really major complications during the pregnancy. You know, I gained weight like I should. I gained like almost 50 pounds. But it was a healthy pregnancy. I did go to 41 weeks before I was induced with her. Her due date was May 8th. And I delivered her on May 16th in the evening. So I was induced on May 15th. My last appointment was the 14th. I had a very, very rough labor with her. I went in at 11 a.m. on the 15th. They gave me a pill to dilate me. I took a nap. When I woke up, my water had broke. I was 5 centimeters. That is amazing it wasn't even like 6 hours later that I was already at a 5. So I thought, cool, like I'm going to have a baby tonight. It's going to be great. Well, so fast forward, you know, I got my epidural, and my labor slowed. Like, it came to a halt for like 12 hours. By the time my water broke, I was between 5 and 6 centimeters. Got my epidural. By the next morning, I don't know, between 7 and 8 a.m., I was still at a 6. I had not progressed at all. The epidural, I don't think it was placed correctly because it did not work. I felt all of my contractions mostly in my hips. So I don't think my epidural was placed correctly because I felt everything, and it was horrible. And at this point, the next morning, they still hadn't started Pitocin. They had not given me Pitocin to get things moving. Nothing. So a little bit later in the morning, they finally started to give me Pitocin, and that just made it 10 times worse because chemically induced contractions are horrible. They are the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. So, gave me Pitocin. We waited. Between 3 and 4 p.m. on the 16th, I was finally at like an 8 centimeters. And they're like, all right, well, let's go ahead and just do some practice pushes, see if we can't get her pushed down further, see if we can't have this baby. So I pushed for like maybe an hour, I think. I don't even know at this point. Maybe an hour. And they decided she's stuck on my pelvic bone, pubic bone, whichever bone that is. I don't know. She was stuck. So therefore, she was not going to come out naturally. I was not dilating any more than 8. Like, I stopped. I was done. Like, my body said no. So about 4:45, 5 o'clock, I was rolled back to the OR. And I had a C-section, and my daughter was born at 5:19 p.m. So, yeah, that was a horrible birth. That was a horrible experience. The outcome was amazing, though. So yeah, I, had her in 2013, and then her father deployed, that July. He returned home the following March in 2014. I got pregnant right away. I found out I was pregnant in June, quickly lost it. It was probably, I'm gonna say a chemical pregnancy, because by the time I finally got these doctors to do blood work, my HCG was already almost gone. I had missed my period for 3 whole weeks. 3 weeks, and they still refused to do blood work. I had to call every day to get something done. By the time I got into my blood work, my HCG was already almost gone. And then shortly after I spotted, I didn't really bleed a whole lot. But it was definitely a loss. And after that, marriage fell apart, all kinds of stuff. So, I didn't get pregnant again that whole year because we split up. The following year, 2015, I moved back home to Indiana because at the time he was active duty. We lived in Louisiana. That's where I gave birth to my daughter. So I moved home from Louisiana back to Indiana in 2015 when my daughter was 2. She turned 2 when I moved home. Didn't get pregnant that whole year. The end of that year in October, I met my now husband. We started dating in October. By December, end of December, beginning of January, I thought I was pregnant, which was really, really shocking because we were being careful. But accidents do happen. I understand that they do happen even when you think you're being careful. So I told him, I was like, but let's just get blood work done just to be safe, before we freak out. Because at this point, we had only been together for like 2.5, 3 months. Not even 3 months. So I got blood work done, and then we did an ultrasound, and my blood work was negative. However, at this point in time, my OBGYN thought I had endometriosis. And he had put me on birth control for a few months to try to ease the pain and stop it and whatever. I don't even know. He had not yet confirmed endometriosis. He did not do any surgeries to confirm it. He just said that I had it. He didn't need to do surgery to confirm me with it. He knew I had it. it was a family history, like my mom had it. So he automatically, like the pains I was describing and all of that, he thought I had it. So he told me at this appointment, you know, you should probably start thinking about trying to have a baby because eventually you probably won't be able to have any more. So being in a new relationship and my daughter being 2.5 at this point, I'm like, how do I tell this guy that I actually really, really like and care about, that I need to start trying to have a baby or my chance is going to be gone? We hadn't even said I love you yet. Like, this was new. So we talked about it. So that January in 2016, we decided to go ahead and leap and try to get pregnant. So from January till, I don't know, March, April, nothing happened. So they put me on Clomid, I think, in April. I responded pretty well to it. And then they gave me another cycle of Clomid in May. Or was it May and June? They gave it to me in May, and then they gave it to me in June. I only took half a cycle in June. Like, I didn't even finish my whole prescription. I overstimulated on Clomid. So that June I actually did get pregnant. We found out July 6th, 2016 that I was pregnant, and my HCG numbers were not where they needed to be. They were 18 by when I found out, and I was only just about 4 weeks. So they definitely should have been higher than that. So we did ultrasounds, we did blood work. Now the HCG, Callie. Sorry, my cat's trying to get into something. My HCG was going up, but not like it should have been. So, oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. My throat was dry and scratchy. So they, we kind of knew what to expect. We already probably figured we were going to lose this pregnancy, and that it wasn't going to turn out good. So, by the end of July, we had ultrasounds done, and the second to last ultrasound we had, there were 2 sacs. So it was very probable that I was pregnant with twins. And at this point, I am like 8 or 9 weeks. And there's no heartbeat. There's just nothing. There's just empty sacs. So the last appointment we went to was August 1st. And that was pretty much the confirmation ultrasound that there was nothing there. Like, the sacs were gone, and there was no pregnancy anymore. I was going to miscarry. So, we went ahead and decided we wanted a D&C again. In my mind, I thought a D&C, I would get pregnant again right away. So, August 12th, I had my D&C. And it was really, really rough. Super rough. So, we started trying again right away. And that kind of just, like, pushed my body to its breaking point. It delayed my cycle. It really messed it up to try again right away. We didn't even wait a week, which is crazy. I should have at least waited 2 weeks, and we didn't. So, yeah, we didn't get pregnant the rest of that year. By February of 2017, I had switched OBGYNs because I was no longer happy with the OBGYN I was with. For one, He would not confirm endometriosis through surgery, which is the only way. And he told me I had PCOS and then took it back and told me he had no idea who told me that. It was you, homeboy. You told me that. So I had so many conflicting diagnoses. I didn't even know what I had. I didn't know. I had no idea. So I switched to OBGYNs. And after a couple months of being with her, she was like, I can't really help you. I feel like you'd be better off with a fertility specialist. So we got referred to a fertility specialist. And we got in August or September of that year. Well, actually, no, let me back up because I'm missing some stuff. When I switched to this OBGYN, she did the surgery, a laparoscopy, to look for endometriosis. And she did not find any. There was no endometriosis anywhere. So we were pretty much back at square one. The only thing she found in there was like an adhesion or whatever on my C-section scar, but that was it. So after that, we were referred out, got into this new specialist later that year. We did all kinds of blood work on me, on him. He did a sperm analysis. Everything came back good. Like, our chromosomes were good. His sperm is good. I had no autoimmune diseases. Like, everything came back great. So really, there was just no explanation. So I did a saline ultrasound in like December of that year, and it showed that what he thought I had were polyps inside my uterus. And that required surgery because he thought that's exactly what was causing me to miscarry. Just where they were placed, it was not an ideal spot because that's where a pregnancy should attach. So that January of 2018, I had my hysteroscopy polypectomy done. And when he got in there, he found that I had scar tissue, not polyps. Now, he removed all the scar tissue that he could, but scar tissue can grow back. It's not a fix. So after that, we moved on to IUI. We did IUI, I want to say in February. Yeah, we did the first IUI in February. It failed. And then we did the second IUI in March, and that failed. And after that, I mean, we were pretty much at a standstill. There was IVF at that clinic was like 20 grand. Like, we couldn't afford that. There's just no way. So we stopped, and we just did things, on our own. And December of 2018, December 24th, so on Christmas Eve last year, found out I was pregnant again. So we had gotten pregnant on our own, but it took from 2016, so it took a little over 2 years to get pregnant again. But I quickly lost that one. It was a chemical pregnancy. So that was my fourth loss. And then we decided we were gonna, just move on. So by May, the beginning of May of this year, I was pregnant again. Lost it less than a week later. Another chemical pregnancy, so that was the fifth loss. Was it 2008 or 2009, 2012, 2014, 2016? Okay, so that was the sixth loss. I've lost count. So I lost it, and I quickly got pregnant again in June, and I lost that one. Now, in between all of this, I did switch fertility specialist. I actually switched fertility specialist at the beginning of this year or end of last year. I think it was the end of last year, so December last year, I switched fertility specialist with her. She's gotten a lot further with the diagnosis than any other doctor has. I do have PCOS. It is very mild compared to what other people have. I have very low vitamin D. My A1C is always super low. And I do have a fluid-filled sac on top, like attached to my C-section scar, which right now isn't posing a threat as far as I know. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I have not gotten pregnant again since June. We decided here recently we're not going to go back to the specialist till at least next year. I don't want to right now, because pretty much IVF and timed intercourse with fertility medication is our only options. I think getting pregnant on my own again is going to be really hard, and it could take longer than what IVF and using fertility meds could take. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's going to be really hard. So right now we're just, doing things on our own. If you've watched my other videos, I have taken supplements. I am thinking about getting IVF meds, but not doing IVF. I am thinking about that. Still need to talk to my husband about it because I have not talked to him. Not yet anyways. But that's pretty much my history. I've had 7 miscarriages, 1 live birth, and I mean, we're just going with the flow right now. We're still trying, and I guess whatever happens, happens. I can't really control it any more than what a doctor can. I mean, there's just not much I can do. It's all up in the air. It's out of my hands. So that's where we're at. I just figured, if you're new here, you probably haven't gone back through all of my videos to see what my journey's been, but that's been my journey. It's been pretty crazy. I've wrapped all of this up into like a 30-minute video when it's been 10 years. So you got 10 years worth of information in 30 minutes. Quick note, I am going to test tomorrow. I'll be 8 DPO, which is pretty much the earliest you can test. So look out for that video in 2 days because I'm going to do 8 and 9 DPO on the same video. And so I'll be posting in 2 more days. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will put my Instagram handle in the description box because I do have an Instagram for this journey. If you want to check it out, if you want to stay updated more on there. I appreciate any and all feedback. So yeah, I will see you guys later.